Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognised authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
Taking a me business to a we business to an us brand. When I had the pleasure of interviewing people from all over the world over multiple different organizations and different categories in business, often there's one sentence or one thing that really pops for me in an interview. And today, Zach will step us through the process to develop a community brand. I'm a values-based business leader, so what Zach discusses reinforced to me exactly how important values are, because they will directly impact your marketing message. I know you're really going to enjoy Zach's knowledge, the way he speaks, his thoughts to develop us as a brand and developing our brand as a community brand. It's a ripper interview. You're going to love it. I'm asked all the time, which episode is the best for me to listen to? Well, we categorize all of our shows on the website. Click on podcast, which is up the top on the homepage, and you'll see a range of categories to select from. All right, I am going to rip into today's show, and I want you to give a round of applause to welcome Jared Williams from The Dynamic Fitness in Texas, because he is meticulous in equipment selection and equipment placement to maximize member experience. This Rexer in the Trenches rocks as Jared shares his secret sauce.
Hello, my name is Jared Williams, CEO of Dynamic Fitness down here in Houston, Texas. For all my contact details, please go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Today, I'm going over the importance of your club's equipment layouts. I break this down into two parts. First, your members' experience. This is identifying how your club is currently laid out right now. Does your current layout have a strategy? This is having an understanding of your current inventory and a reason for its placement. How's the flow of your member traffic to your layout? Is it easy for members to navigate and locate equipment? Are your areas sectioned so it spreads them out effectively throughout your club? How's your equipment spacing? This is so your members can work out effectively by reducing being compacted or cluttered. Do you have enough types of equipment that are more popular than others to accommodate your guests' needs? Second is going to be your presentation. Your club is your most effective salesperson. The club must be staged daily for not only new prospects who come see your product, but each day when your members and employees walk in through that door. It's the selling point of why people should join, but also why people should stay. This helps in your tour process, web presentation, which both can increase referral business, increase web leads, and conversion percent of your leads. The challenge I have for you is to get a design software and insert your existing equipment layout. This will be a great visual for you to start and know where at least where everything is placed. From here, just explore the different possibilities and challenge your current setup and see what you think can improve to have an impact on your gym's experience. Eddie and the Rex Roundtable groups have been a big impact with me and our organization since 2018 by helping understand key details like the topics today that could have a big impact on your business long term. If you'd like to contact Eddie, his contact information is in the episode notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. The detail you go into on gym layout is just one of the reasons why your clubs have been so successful. I'm really grateful for you sharing your tips today. You can find all Jared's details in the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Our wise words from experts this week is Hailey Rowe. Hailey's going to discuss all things time management and how to get the most out of your days.
Hey, this is Hailey Rowe. I'm a marketing and sales coach and strategist and a LinkedIn lead generation service provider. And after working with thousands of entrepreneurs and coaches, one of the main traits and skills that they have to get very good at is being good at prioritizing and managing their time. So today I'm going to share with you a couple tips to plan a productive week, and I'm going to break it down step by step. So the first step is to brain dump all the things you want or need to do this week. They can be personal to-dos, work to-dos, family and housework to-dos, social to-dos, daily basics, meaning maybe you have a daily target for posting or answering your emails or messages, things like that. And then what I want you to do is look at that list and sort it into 3 categories. Category 1 is a someday list, meaning these are not urgent tasks, but things that you want to get to relatively soon, maybe within the month. You're going to have a top priority section where you can list your top priority this week items, meaning things that will have consequences if you don't get to them this week. And these should also be the tasks that align most with your top goals in your business. And then you're also going to have a soon list, meaning these are things that maybe you don't even get to in the next month or so. Maybe they're just in the quarter you need to do these things. And then lastly, you'll have a daily list, things that you want to pick from your list and put on a what I call wish list for today. Now, once you have your wish list for today in particular, I want you to look through the list and ask yourself, are these tasks result-based? Meaning, are these really vague, big tasks that I can't realistically get to today? Or are these tasks something that I could do in 30 minutes or less, and by the end, I'll have some kind of result? So for example, rather than writing on your to-do list, get on podcasts, you might change that to pitch myself to one podcast, and you write down which podcast that's going to be today. So try to turn all your tasks into more result-based tasks. And then once you have your wish list, actually look at your meetings for the day, your obligations for the day, any appointments you have to go to, and see what is realistically going to fit in to your open space times. And pick from your result-based list what is most important to time batch into your day. Now, if you get stuck on this, or you get overwhelmed easily, or you're not sure what to prioritize as your client-generating activities, feel free to reach out to me. I'm at Hailey_Rowe on Instagram, and I cannot wait to hear how this goes for you. That's HAILEY_ROWE, and can't wait to connect.
Hailey, you might have just completely transformed my week after dropping those knowledge bombs. Now, all Hailey's contact details are in our episode notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. By the way, if you ever love any of our wise words from an expert, please tell me. We can always get them back to do a full interview on the topic that they discussed. So let me know by email, socials, or even a carrier pigeon if you want Hailey or any of our previous experts to come back and do a full show. Everyone at FBP HQ loves hearing from our FBP community. So drop us an email or leave us a voice message. Click the link in the show notes to send me a voice message. I'm super excited to chat with Zach Colman today about marketing and becoming a community brand. I've heard of many different types of brands, and just like you, I'm intrigued to know what exactly is a community brand. How do we position ourselves as a community brand? And then how do we leave a legacy in our community? Welcome, Zach, and give everyone the Zach Colman life story in 60 seconds.
My name is Zach Colman, and I help athletic-driven brands find their why through brand identity and community experiences. And just a real quick story of myself. Played sports my whole life, worked for the Phoenix Suns, worked for Pearson, found the gym as a way for me to expand my personal growth as I started out my own business. And we took a path change just recently as I rebranded myself and started to speak more, get more involved with my community. And now we work with a plethora of gyms and help them find their why.
Love it. I'm such a fan of the why thing. This may only make the cutting room floor. Were you at the Phoenix Suns when Steve Nash was there?
No, I was not. Bummer, right? I was there around 2012, 2013. So it was just a little bit past his time. But we were going through the Carver era with a whole bunch of different new people coming on board, and the Suns weren't very good during that time.
Okay, so we're quickly moving on from the Suns. We won't mention them again today. Look, the whole concept of why and why we do business and all that sort of thing. But let's talk about this community brand. What's the true definition of a community brand, Zach?
Community brand isn't developing a platform and just having a whole bunch of people jump on a platform. You know, I think that a lot of people right away think, hey, I'm building a community because I'm building this little ecosystem of people. I think that that's part of building a community. That could be a strategy that you could use on building a community. But overall, I think really building a community brand is really, I'm going to say it's kind of an evolution of an individual. I think that first off, you have your personal brand, you have you, figuring out who you are, figuring out your why, figuring out eventually hiring a team, building culture, going from a me to a we. You know, that's what I would consider, I'm not going to say corporate, but just building up your brand is building that culture within your team, having them match your values, having them match who you are, following the same vision as you. And then it goes to community, which is the us, which is making sure that your product, service, your delivery is tailored towards a certain community that you want to help, the type of people you want to help. And when you have all those three together, you go from a me to a we to an us, you get to a point where your brand is an ecosystem of advocacy towards everyone. Everyone wants to help everyone out. Everyone resonates with who you are, what you're doing. And to me, that's the true definition of a community brand.
If we reverse engineer and we kind of start at what a community brand is and then work back to how we get there. By the way, I love me, we, us. What are the traits of a community brand?
I would say a good trait is values. I think at the end of the day, we all have certain values that we like to live by. And it could be anything. For me, for instance, I very much value communication. So I run my business off of communication. You know, communication is a huge value I utilize to manage my team. It's a plethora of one of the examples I do when I hire. I want to make sure the people I hire also value communication. And then when it comes to my clients, if I bring somebody in that I want to work with or is a member that doesn't value that type of ecosystem, then they're not going to match my brand and what I'm trying to deliver.
Yep, that makes sense. Let me ask you this question then. Why do you think it's so vital for fitness businesses, of all businesses, but why is it so critical for a fitness business to be a community brand?
Well, I think in today's day and age, things have kind of shifted. I think with the evolution of technology, transactions, e-commerce, we were kind of running ourselves to a point where everything was transactional. And people still, some look at it that way. It's all about, hey, call 1,000 people in your area and see who's going to be a fit for try to find one person that's going to be a fit for my gym, right? I think right now people are craving community. And the only way that you're going to have your gym stand out is if you start focusing on building that experience and community that people are starting to thrive for. People are wanting to get out of the house. They don't want to work from home 8 hours at a time. They want to go out and care about them and understand their pains, because fitness is not just physical.
We forget that, don't we? We forget about that, the power of socialization and community in our clubs sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And I think it's a huge aspect that's getting overmissed. And the only way that you're going to attract the kind of members that value that is, fortunately for you, something that can be trackable, which are your values, what you live by personally. You value that, and it's going to match in all the services you do. It's going to match the offers that you provide, going to match the trainers you bring in. Like you said, it's the experience of people going out there right now is needed. I mean, I would rather go 2-3 miles to a studio that matches my values than drive a mile away to somewhere that I'm like, they're just not very nice people.
I think you're right. I think, historically, we've always done it with restaurants. We've always driven that extra mile to get to a restaurant because the people are nice. potentially it's happening now with clubs as well. I think one of the challenges that I'm going to lean on you now for, Zach, is it's really easy for us to say we're a community-based brand. How do we take that community-based brand and explain that through digital marketing?
I think the easiest and the most, I'm not going to say easy, but I would say the most effective way is your messaging and your positioning. And not just the way you provide your messaging and your positioning, but the way your employees spread that messaging and that positioning, all the way down to now you have members that are now your advocates. Allow your members to be your advocates. Allow them to be the one. Think about it. My best friend, why would he be my best friend if he didn't match my values? Yeah, if he didn't have similar values, right? So I'm already bringing in a person to a gym or a studio that I trust because I match the same values as them. My friend matches the same values as them. And so it's really just staying consistent and allowing yourself to know who you are, who your team is, and keeping that message and that positioning aligned amongst everything.
So I have a confession to make, Zach. At this stage, I'd planned to ask a few more questions around marketing and what the common branding mistakes that we make and blah, 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 blah around marketing. But I want to go on a bit of a tangent because the last 5 minutes we've spoken a lot about values. For the people listening, for our FBP community that are listening today, where do they start to find their values? And where do they start to be able to then articulate values and what that looks like without just doing lip service to 5 bullet points?
Yeah, that's actually funny you say that because I actually do a workshop on this because it is really hard. Like I look at my past, I went through a part in the evolution of my business where I actually had to take a step back. It's very easy for us, for gym owners, for managers to get so caught up in the day-to-day of what we do, we forget to look back on ourselves and we start to compromise our values in the mix of that. And so a good way to really sit back and say, hey, how do I develop my brand values? How do I really sit down and figure out what the mission is, the vision, what I really want to do for this, for my studio is take a look at yourself, look back, get a gratitude journal, just sit down and write and say, what are times in my life I was really happy? Try to sit down and define those, find those times. And then you can tailor those down to 3 real words that match your values. When I was going through my struggle, when I was going through my burnout, I actually was hitting 2 points. I was hitting the value of death in my business, which you said that you read the scaling up, so you probably know what the value of death period is. I was hitting that period, but I was also, I had to redefine what success looked like to me. How did I do that? I had to go back and go, okay, what do I value in my life? What are some of the things in my life that I no longer do? I started dismissing working on myself. I started dismissing going and working out, going on those runs like I used to love to do. I used to do that constantly. I had to slowly bring that back because to me, having the time to work out and work on myself is success to me. And then that opened things up, right?
Yeah. Do you think people don't commit to values in their business because when they write it down, it becomes real?
That's a good question. It's hard to look at yourself. If I was going to come in as a marketer, my first thought process would not be, hey, work on yourself, because a lot of people, it's hard to work on ourselves. But really, the plethora of branding is psychologically the way you could represent yourself to an audience, to your team and your culture, right? And so that first step is looking at yourself, figuring out what you want to thrive, how you want to grow your brand. And so writing it down, it does make it real. And I think that is the hardest part, is trying to figure out what those are and then trying to start living by them more frequently in your life, giving yourself a pattern disrupt and being like, I'm going to start going on this, doing this again every day. It could be anything from going to church to maybe, your business developer or someone you said, hey, you need to stop, doing personal training sessions because you're changing time for money. You need to switch that and start working on operations. Or maybe you need to bring one of those classes back because it brings you alive and it helps you live the vision.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, really good. I also find that the owners of businesses, whether they can be a franchise business and still have their own values in their own business, even though they're working on a franchise. But I find the owners that have got very clear values also have very clear staff selection. It makes it easy to find the people to work for them and stay working for them because there's that commonality of values. Would you agree with that?
100%. So a good tactic to kind of go off of, and we do this with our hiring too, right? And I've switched my values multiple times. I mean, I talk about in my TEDx talk, I talk a lot about just not having random words up on a wall. That's not branding. I mean, you could easily come in and just say, oh, I'm a big believer in innovation. Like, are you really? Because that's what everyone says. Like, no, come in and like, what makes you happy? Like one of our biggest, funny enough, my TEDx bullet points are my values. Like when I was redeveloping that whole thing, it's when I had to refine myself and my values, and confidence is a huge one for me. So when I go in and I hire people, I have to make sure that they don't have an egotistical type mindset, because that's not great. And how do you do that? Through confidence. Confidence is much more facilitated. So how do you build confidence? So when I sit down and I ask them questions on hiring, it's that first tier for me. Of course, there's more to hiring than just values, but it does help kind of go, okay, are we going to get along? I don't want someone just like me, but I want someone that doesn't have an egotistical mindset, not willing to grow and try things, So I'll write certain questions off of certain stipulations down, like confidence. What happens when a client comes in and is upset about something? How do you handle that situation? And based off of their answer, I can tell if they're confident or they have an ego, And so I can name on one hand, which I won't, how many people I had to let go. And I was like, oh, they had an egotistical. That's why I let them go.
For those that are listening, we will put in the episode notes a link to Zach's TEDx talk so that you can jump on that and be able to see him live on stage or recorded on stage. So we'll put that there. So let's go then back to marketing. So we've now got our values. We're pretty clear on them. What are some of the common branding mistakes that you see fitness businesses make around branding? What would you say are common mistakes?
Oh, I'm going to go strictly down to the service because I think people will understand it a little bit easier here. They don't look at branding as an ROI. I mean, a great example, I'll have clients come to me and be like, so it costs you $20K to build us a brand identity. And I'll be like, yeah, but you'll now be able to charge twice. You'll basically make double your profits next month based off of what we do. And they're like, well, how? And I just say, well, think about it. If your branding is on par between the values that you care about, those values, your mission, your vision, correlate with your visual communication and how you represent yourself externally, you're going to attract the type of people that will pay that type of money. And that's the psychological counterpart of why visual communications is also very important. In the plethora, am I telling people it has to be perfect? No, you don't have to be a perfectionist. And it goes similar to the experience, right? How does the internals of the gym look? If I was in the yoga, for instance, and we really pleathorized the harmony aspect, I'm not going to have a whole bunch of free weights, like heavy lifting free weight machines in my facility, right? Because then it wouldn't match the type of audience that I wanted to bring into my facility offers. And so think about everything that you do from a branding and a positioning standpoint being your legs towards the ROI, the offers, the look and feel, the experience you're providing to your audience as a plethora, even down to smell. When I was at the Beyond Active event, I sat down, I was on a panel there, and we were talking to the owner of Soul Cycle. She was there, the CEO, and she was talking a lot about how they actually measure the amount of scents, like the smell of what they do on a year-to-year basis, and how that determines retention rate. So there's so much that can go into it. Do I believe that a studio that's making $250K a year should worry about that stuff yet? No. They still need to figure out who they are. Like they're still validating, right? So I don't think that it's something that you need to do from day one, but I do think as you evolve as a person in a brand and you're really trying to figure out what the vision of your location or your locations is going to look like, that you need to really start thinking about team and audience and how you're going to communicate to them in all different formats.
The olfactory sense is a very powerful one when it comes to brand. I know that Abercrombie and Fitch have their own scent, and I know Singapore Airlines have their own scent. Now, I didn't know that SoulCycle do, so that's fascinating. But it's all part of that brand, isn't it? As well as, we're adding in another layer of sense, but the visual is so critical.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I get it. Like if you're making 250K a year, even 500K a year, like you have more important things to worry about. But that is kind of the stage where I've seen, and just through working with multiple studio owners that I see, all right, you're at a teetering point, right? You're at the point in the development of your location. Hopefully you only have one at 500K. I've had a couple come to me and they have like 3 locations and they're making 250K a year. And I'm like, dude, you need to close down too. But that's besides the point. You do need to start thinking a little bit differently. And how do other markets handle this? And so that's when you start thinking, okay, do we really want to work with everybody? Do we really want to be, we're not a big box gym. What services can we cut? How can we nail in our offers? How can we know our audience so well that we know the types of, if they're selling products or complementary products? And that's a big thing too that I've seen is, a lot of studios will be like, we're just going to sell products and promo shirts and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're not an e-com brand. Like if you're going to sell a product, make sure, and here's a very easy example. When I used to go boxing, I used to box a lot. They would sell boxing gloves, or they'd say, hey, it's mandatory that you have boxing gloves because you're boxing. So here you can buy some if you want to buy them from us. Like make sure they complement your values and what you're trying to do. And that's a little off subject, but I think that around the 500Ks when you have to start thinking, okay, I need to start building culture. I need to start being more of a leader, not a manager. That's usually the time that starts coming to fruition. And you have to start thinking, all right, we have to think about the things that are going to up our game to bring in more members besides, hey, create a digital ad for me and hope that it brings in 50 members tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting. We tend to focus a lot on those digital ads and the marketing spend. But if the messaging is wrong, then we're not going to get anyone to respond. And the messaging is not necessarily 1 week free. The messaging is, we're welcome to everybody. And there's a picture with someone with massive biceps in the ad.
Well, yeah. And here's 2 other examples. I mean, because I know right now it's a real missed audience is the elderly community. Like they need a good place to work out right now based off of the time. And are you really going to be going on TikTok and putting an ad up on TikTok for that community? No. If you have a yoga studio, are you really going to be throwing up a lot of dark reds and bright yellows as your color scheme as part of your brand? Probably not. Like those are small things that you don't necessarily, you just go, oh, let's just throw some colors that are eye-catching up there and make sure see how many people stick. It's like, no, those are the subconscious things that are actually dismissing you from getting ROI because you're not, your audience. I know for me, if I was going to go to a yoga class, bright reds would make me like, whoa, this must be a pretty intense yoga class here. I don't know if this is exactly what I'm looking for my mental health, So you have to think about that kind of stuff.
The branding thing is such an interesting discussion. Obviously, brands evolve. So let me ask this final question to you. If people are listening today and they look back on their own business and they think, shit, we've come a long way. We now really do this. I probably need to maybe tweak my brand. I don't need a full rebrand, but I need to tweak what I do. Where the hell do they start?
Well, you can start by contacting me.
Yes, no, you can. And Zach's contact details will be, in fact, in the show notes.
At the end of the day, that's basic rebrand. I believe just like building a personal brand and us evolving as humans, so do our brands. And so what we do and how we service and how we evolve and grow and learn. And so there's plethora of points where rebranding situations happen. I would say, around the 500Ks, 500 to a million is a great one. You're bringing in new culture. You're bringing in new values. I would say once you hit the 1 to 3, maybe you have 2 locations. Maybe you're looking expanding on going to like 3 to 7 locations. Design consistency and brand consistency is key at that point. You now need to manage multiple locations. So where do you start? You still have to start at square one. I think you have to go back to your values and either sit down and go through a discovery process again and be like, what has changed? Has our vision changed? Has our mission evolved? And that's the plethora of a rebrand, right? The graphics and the visuals and the website, that could go so many different ways. Maybe you do have to do a rebrand. Maybe now you just focus on females where before you focused on everybody. Maybe you focus on kids, so you may have to do a rebrand. You may just have to do a revamp. It's very hard to tell. And that's the point of discovery. It's how do you develop a brand that helps develop you? How do you know that you're at a time where you need to take that next step and you want to start communicating what differentiates you, what makes you different, what makes your team different? And so I feel like if you're talking about key points, those are key points to look at.
Yeah, great suggestions. Really good. We didn't rebrand, we tweaked our brand when we relaunched with season 1, and we're continuing to evolve as a brand. And who knows where the Fitness Business Podcast or your Fitness Business Podcast is going to end up in a year's time. You've got to be nimble, haven't you? Even if you do have a brand, you still need to be nimble.
You do. And I mean, me as a marketer, sometimes you decide to say, hey, maybe we have to, there's plethora of ways you can go. I mean, look at products, for instance. You look at like Coca-Cola, you look at Kellogg's. They're products, but they have plethora of different product brands under them based off of their audience. So you may do something very similar. Maybe you have a studio that you're like, this is going to focus very strictly on yoga. And maybe your revamp isn't necessarily a new brand. Maybe it's a sub-brand that's still under the larger umbrella. And maybe you have another location that focuses strictly on, cycling. Who knows? I'm just using it as an example, but that's the kind of stuff that you figure out. Branding is really synced with business. Just like I think branding is very synced with marketing. I just think that you need to get those foundational sets understood clearly for yourself and your team and allow it to be something that also evolves your team, not just you. And then you can look at your marketing. Then you can go in and say, all right, like we can take the revamp, rebuild the internal look and feel of the location, redo our website if we need to redo it, revamp it or just revamp, and then look at, okay, what's our marketing? For me, for instance, I value communication, right? I'm a digital marketer. We do digital marketing. You're not going to hear a digital marketer come online and say, care about referrals, except for me. Because I'm like, community is what makes us thrive. It's the best part about. And so that's where a lot of our digital marketing efforts rely. It's a sync between advocacy, community, and allowing people to build that waterfall of sustainability through your existing members and what you're trying to evolve is in your local community.
Love it. That's awesome. Zach, we always like to finish every interview where we ask our guests to present a 90-day challenge to our FBP community. This is a challenge where we want them to, after listening to your expertise, that they go away and over 90 days they work on something so that they basically turn what you said into actions. What would be a 90-day challenge for our listeners from you?
Ooh, I think that's a good one. I think a 90-day challenge would be like, I want you to sit down and really time block effectiveness of if you're burnout, what you're doing, figure out, who am I? Who am I now? Like, doesn't matter how big you are. Is it a studio? You have one location, you have 4, you have 7, you're a franchise, figure out what your values are. So to start that off, just start figuring out what you really value and find a way to include some of those, what I call pattern disrupts back into your life. Maybe you stopped running, dedicate 2 days a week that you're going to start going running again. If you stopped working out, maybe even go start working out. If it's food, if it's friends, start finding those values in yourself that you cherish for you. And then the rest you can align later. But for now, like bring those back in, bring them back in slowly, allow them to be your guiding factor to your vision.
Zach, this has been a great chat. I've really enjoyed it. Certainly not the direction I thought we were going to go 30 minutes ago, but it's fascinating. And I just think, what you're talking about today and have spoken about today to our FBP community is just how important the foundation of values is that we can then build a house upon. You can't build a house if you haven't got foundations, and the foundations are the values, and the concrete slab is why we do what we do. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time. We will put all of Zach's contact details in the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Welcome to our 3-minute sponsors pitch on the Fitness Business Podcast. We spotlight a Rex Roundtable trusted supplier who provides innovative solutions to help you enhance your facility, boost member engagement, and increase profitability. Stay tuned to discover their suggested actions to elevate your fitness business to the next level.
Hello, Fitness Business Podcast family. Sarah Pellegrino here, Customer Success Manager for Wellness Space Brands. It feels so great to be back on the mic with you all, and I'm excited to share some exciting updates from Wellness Space, or Hydro Massage, as some of you may still know us. I'm thrilled to share some exciting news about our products. We've just released the Hydro Massage 440 G3. This version of Hydro Massage introduces several key upgrades and offers a more personalized and immersive massage experience. The first upgrade being a sleeker exterior design with modern lines for a redefined look. You'll then notice that there is a more durable and comfortable luxury cover for enhanced comfort and long-lasting use. We've also updated the touchscreen interface with simplified one-touch controls, a completely updated entertainment portal, and Bluetooth connectivity options to enhance the experience. If you've yet to try Hydro Massage, I'm sure you're wondering what the benefits are. Hydro Massage sessions relieve soreness, stiffness, and tension, which help your body recover faster. Sessions promote increased blood circulation, which also supports muscle recovery. Hydro Massage provides temporary relief from minor aches and pains, making it ideal for active lifestyles. And lastly, it feels wonderful, friends, which reduces stress and anxiety, contributing positively to mental wellness. But that's not all. If you've yet to discover our advanced recovery chair, the Cryo Lounge, what are you waiting for? This is a perfect combination of cold and compression that come together to provide cold to muscles on the back of the body that are sore or aching, while heat is provided to other areas of the body to keep members comfortable for the length of the Cryo Lounge session. There's an auxiliary pad, which we use to deliver cold or heat to areas on the front of the body that need attention. Think knees, shoulders, elbows, or even the abdomen. Have you been wanting to focus on mental well-being and relaxation more in your fitness business? Then the Relax Space is perfect for you. Our multi-sensory, relaxing experience combines wellness content on a 43-inch display screen with beach scenes, unique cities of the world, even guided breathing and meditations. The Relax Space has a warming seat, fan, scent boost option, Bluetooth capability, a heart rate monitor, and so much more. Now for a special FBP family offer, any current Wellness Space members whose teammates could use product-specific training, please contact me. Even if you've had our products for years, it's still great to refresh the importance of wellness and recovery products, as well as educate on the science and benefits of our products with your team. For my personal and company contact information, please see the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Here are 4 Rex Roundtable's trusted suppliers you should check out. Smart Health Clubs, offering customizable fitness software solutions for health clubs. Reinig Insurance. Ken the Insurance Guy specializes in risk management and insurance for fitness businesses. Clubcom, providing gyms, digital entertainment, communication, and revenue solutions. Powerplate. This is whole body vibration for fitness and wellness. You can see all of their details at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and click on today's show. Next week, we're going to be joined by fitness industry royalty. Yep, royalty. The 2024 IDEA Fitness Leader of the Year, Ingrid Knight Coe, jumps into the hot seat with me and we discuss group fitness. How do we find group fitness instructors these days? How do we connect members with each other? She shares her new program called Masingi, and she even walks us through what she does when she teaches to make every member feel special. It's a ripper chat, and the show drops in 2 weeks. If you're feeling inspired by Jared's Rexer in the Trenches, or Hailey's wise words, or Sarah's discussion on creating wellness spaces, or Zach's marketing, then please show your support to your fitness business podcast by leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. Catch you in 2 weeks.